Ladies and gentlemen, welcome in. I wanted to reveal my first official Heisman ladder for this season. We have reached week 7. Many of these players have played 5, 6 games, whatever. So I wanted to unveil my official Heisman ladder and then take a look at the current odds on who has the best potential to win the Heisman, who's the best value, who's the worst value, things like that. But let's get right into it. My official ladder and who I have at the top right now as we enter week number 7. It is Bryce Young, kind of by default. I was almost thinking about maybe I should wait to do the first Heisman video for, save it for a few weeks, because it's like Bryce Young has had a good season. He lost last week. He threw 1 interception. He wasn't really that bad. It was more on the defense. But still, losing 1 game at, a team you're favored by 17 points isn't a great look. Overall, he's got 19 touchdowns to only, I think, 2 interceptions. He's had a really good year. He's had the stats. But again, this is almost like he's first by default. Like, there's been no Heisman moment. He beat Ole Miss, which was their big win. But it's like, I don't know. For Alabama, the one thing I'm worried with Bryce Young when it comes to the Heisman, I'm just not seeing, who are they going to face to where there's going to be this big Heisman moment or this narrative? I mean, maybe you don't need one. I don't know. But it's just to me, it seems like he's first as a placeholder right now. It's almost like he's a placeholder. He's put up good stats. They have a really good system in Alabama. Obviously, 5-star offensive line, really good skill position players, although there are teams in the country that have better skill position players than Alabama. And that brings me to my number 2 overall guy. It is C.J. Stroud. You could argue Matt Carrell is in front of him. I'll talk about that later. But right now, C.J. Stroud, the last 2 weeks against bad competition, I'll give you that, has looked unbelievable. You talk about the Oregon game, whether it was his shoulder, his second game starting as, a college quarterback, no experience, whatever it was, he has looked great the past 2 weeks. Bad competition, I know, but that Rutgers team, I'm not saying Rutgers are some world beaters or anything like that, but they have a decent defense. They really do, and C.J. Stroud just completely ripped them apart. Another really attractive thing with this quarterback is he has the best weapons in college football. He has one of the best offensive lines in college football. You take a look, Jackson Smith-Njigba, Garrett Wilson, Chris Olave, really good experienced offensive line. Trevion Henderson is the running back. He's got so many good things around him, and he's getting into a part of his schedule where he can produce a Heisman moment. You've got Penn State left on the schedule. You've got Michigan State left on the schedule. You've got Michigan left on the schedule. There are so many opportunities. I've got him at number 2 right now. 18 touchdowns, 3 interceptions. I think 9 total touchdowns the past 2 games, 0 interceptions. He's on a run. Bye week this week, at Indiana the next week, and then versus Penn State the next week. C.J. Stroud is number 2 for me right now on my Heisman ladder. I've got Bijan Robinson at number 3. He's had a great year. He really has. I think he has 900 rushing. Oh, that might be Kenneth Walker. I think he has over 800 rushing yards already for this year. With Texas, the big hurdle with Bijan Robinson, they already have 2 losses. If they would have beaten Oklahoma, Bijan Robinson, the Heisman hype, it would be crazy right now. People are itching to give the Heisman back to a running back one of these years. Maybe this year's the year. We'll have to see if he can take over any games coming up. Again, that was a big game for him, though, versus Oklahoma. That's a potential Heisman statement game. They go up big early. He has that crazy run a la Reggie Bush, cutting across the field. He's so good. But again, does he have the schedule left already with 2 losses to really, he might, be a lot to make it to New York, but can he actually win the award? It's going to be tough with 2 losses. Number 4 on my list, it is Kenneth Walker III. This is another guy like Stroud, Big Ten player who has all of the games in the front of him. He's got all of them. He has had an absurd year so far, and he has the chance versus Michigan, versus Ohio State, versus Penn State. I think he's the guy. I think he leads college football right now in rushing, or at least top 3. The first 2 or 3 games of the year, he had a combined 500, 600 total yards. He's been unbelievable as a transfer. Totally unexpected. Kenneth Walker deserves a major shout-out. He is definitely in the Heisman race. I am concerned these better defenses like a Michigan, like a Penn State, are going to start keying in to stop Kenneth Walker, make Peyton Thorne beat you, stop the run, and that could really derail his Heisman hopes, along with Michigan State losing some of those games. That's what I would be concerned about when it comes to that. Number 5, it is Matt Carrell. Many people have Matt Carrell 2nd or 3rd. I'm just, the game against Alabama, I cannot get over it. It's your Heisman chance. It was a complete strikeout for Matt Carrell. He was terrible in it. I was watching it. I was like, are you kidding me? I mean, and then everyone praised Alabama's defense. Well, it turns out, you look at what the backup quarterback for Texas A&M did against Bama. Maybe their Alabama's defense isn't that good. I'm not saying, Bama's defense is okay, but this idea that, oh my God, the reason Matt Carrell was so bad was because Alabama was so good on defense. No, he just had a bad game. He had a bad game at the worst possible time, and I don't know if you can make up for that. If you're Ole Miss, I think Ole Miss will lose 2 or 3 games, mainly based on their defense. I will say, this is a low-key phenomenal chance for Matt Carrell. You're facing a high-scoring team in Tennessee on the road. You could put up 5 or 6 touchdowns and really get some Heisman hype back in your corner this weekend. Hostile environment, Tennessee, they're high-scoring. They're going to allow a lot of points, too. That's what Ole Miss is like. The over-under in that game is like 81. It's crazy. They're expecting a major shootout. This is your chance. Get a little Heisman hype back in your corner after the bad Alabama loss. I've got him at number 5 right now. We'll have to see. He could move up, though. He could move up. Number 6 it is Trevion Henderson. I think this kid has a Heisman in his future. He just is a true freshman right now who, unfortunately, in back-to-back weeks earlier this season, had a combined 16 carries. He had 8 carries one week, 8 carries the next week. So the usage isn't there. The overall stats are not as good as someone like Kenneth Walker, but the average per carry is up over 8 yards per carry. The touchdowns are there. How about the receiving out of the backfield? Week 1, he made his name known as a true freshman against Minnesota, taking a little swing pass about 75 yards for a touchdown. The explosiveness, the cuts. He reminds me of a mini Saquon Barkley. That's what this kid is. He's a mini Saquon Barkley. You watch him, you watch his stutter. It's unbelievable. His swiftness, his quickness, the quickness in the open field is unbelievable. He'll just run past somebody, just run past them. He is so good. Again, the only problem, this is a true freshman that kind of brought him along slowly. He hasn't gotten the overall counting stats, and I think Ohio State is going to be more inclined to throw the football this year with just the just complete array of weapons. They have 2 potential first-round picks, 2 likely first-round picks in Chris Olave and Garrett Wilson. They might be throw the ball a little bit more, maybe not focus so much on the run game, but Trevion Henderson's been phenomenal, and he has big games ahead of him as well. Number 7 on my list, it is Kenny Pickett. He's been unbelievable. He really has. I think this is just more of a scenario where we don't expect this to really continue. Pitt is a team, they've already lost 1 game. When it comes to Kenny Pickett, the stats are there. He did have a bye week last week, but I have him at number 7, mainly because I don't think this is going to continue. I don't want to prop him up just to lower him when I don't think it's going to happen anyway, so I have him at number 7 right now. We'll have to see how he does this weekend. Number 8, this is more of just a shout-out. Kelvin Austin III, he's the best receiver in college football. He's not going to win the Heisman, but I thought, with my 8th spot every week when I have this Heisman ladder, I'm just going to shout someone out. So Kelvin Austin, unbelievable receiver for Memphis. Take a look at his stats. He's been great. So these are the official Heisman odds according to Caesars. After week number 6, you have Bryce Young. Again, I'll say it by default, number 1, plus 180. I would not bet that. That is not a good odds. Matt Carrell, terrible odds, plus 200. CJ Stroud, that's a guy I want to talk about here. Really good, plus 1,000. Those are really good odds for CJ Stroud. I think he's the best value play on this board by far when you look at his potential with the teams he has ahead of him. He already has 18 touchdowns, only 3 interceptions, and he has Heisman statement games packed and loaded ahead of him. Now you look at the schedule and how it sets up for Stroud to make a potential Heisman run at Indiana. That's a game you just want to get a few counting stats, throw 3 or 4 touchdowns, no turnovers, get your 300 passing yards, get out. You win 48-24 or whatever. Then Penn State, that will be a night game on ABC. That is a huge game. Say CJ Stroud throws 6, maybe 5 touchdowns that game. He immediately goes to the top of the Heisman board. That is a Heisman statement type game. Penn State suffered a tough loss at Iowa. They're still a top 10 team. At Nebraska, low-key a hard game. Low-key, Nebraska's a good team, but you should win that one. Purdue at home, that's just another game to really boost your stats. The Michigan State game, it'll be interesting to see what Michigan State is ranked by the time that game happens, because between Michigan State and Michigan, I know that game is in East Lansing. It's going to be very close. I'm leaning towards Michigan in that one, but again, they could go either way. It'll be interesting to see if Penn State has any losses that could simmer down the hype for that game. And then you want to talk about a Heisman statement potential. Michigan. Michigan, they still have, before the last game of the season, they still have to face Penn State and Michigan State. I'm inclined to believe they go 1-1 in those 2 games. They'll win one, they'll lose one. So even if they lose a game, Michigan's still going to be a top 10 team CJ Stroud is facing. That's a Heisman opportunity on the road in Ann Arbor against your arch rival. rival. You can get CJ Stroud right now plus 1,000. Those are absurd odds. He's the best value on the board by now. This is another updated look rankings list by just somebody's opinion. Bryce Young, number 1. So he's got Bijan Robinson, number 2. That's interesting. Kenneth Walker. I would agree Kenneth Walker should be top 3 or top 4 minimum. CJ Stroud, 4. Matt Carrell, 5. Drake London gets a shout out. I like that. There's Trey Henderson, Kenny Pickett, Desmond Ridder. So on a guy like Desmond Ridder, I think he has zero chance to win the Heisman. The only unique way Desmond Ridder could have won the Heisman is if he somehow completely took over the Notre Dame game and threw for like 5 touchdowns and they won in a shootout. The narrative coming out of that game was Cincy's defense is elite. It wasn't that Desmond Ridder won them the game. The other major issue for Desmond Ridder is the schedule. There's just no opportunities to have a Heisman moment or kind of create that narrative that you're the Heisman. So that's why I would not have Desmond Ridder anywhere near the top of my board. And also, I mean, his stats are not crazy. They're good, but they're not crazy. It's just there's no opportunities for him. And then how about that? A nice shout out for Kelvin Austin III. So guys, that is just a quick update in my overall Heisman board. Bryce Young, the early leader in the clubhouse, even after the loss to Texas A&M. It'll kind of dim his odds a little bit losing to Texas A&M, but he wasn't the reason they lost. It's not like he threw a pick 6 that lost them the game at the end. It was more on the defense, although losing a game, you know, if you're a Heisman favorite, losing a game as a 17-point favorite, that's tough. That is very tough. But right now, you'd have to say Bryce Young. I have CJ Stroud second. He definitely has the best overall value. Matt Carrell is someone to watch this weekend. If he performs really well, he's going to start receiving more hype. They do need to win the game. Ole Miss needs to win. Even if Matt Carrell plays really well, they lose. He's not anywhere near the Heisman. They need to win the game. He needs to play really well, and they need to win. But this is my Week 7 Heisman ladder update, guys. I think I'm going to do this every week till the end of the season, kind of update you guys on the overall values, the overall odds on each one of these players. Right now, it looks like, according to every sports book that I've seen, Bryce Young is the favorite. And then you're looking at the 2 other quarterbacks, Matt Carrell and CJ Stroud from Ole Miss and Ohio State, coming in at 2nd and 3rd. Those are the top 3 right now. You've got the 1 running back the 2 running backs, I guess, Kenneth Walker and then Bijan Robinson, and then everyone else is kind of a long shot at this point. So guys, that is going to do it for this video. Make sure you follow me on Twitter. Link to that's always in the description. I'm, of course, That Oppressed Ginger. Thank you for watching.